Good morning, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. This is your Wednesday wrap-up. We got Herb in the house. What's up, my man?
It's terrible, terrible times. The sky is falling. The world is falling apart.
Yeah, how did that tide roll there?
I mean, they rolled. And somebody knocked them. They rolled down the field, and they rolled off the field. And, it was the most fitting thing was right before halftime when it just started pouring. It was like the rain came. It was like, I'm not going to affect the game, but I'm just here to affect your mood. Here you go. So there's a picture of me sitting there like this in the rain, like, and then it stopped after halftime. So it's just like, yeah, today is not your day.
Sad panda.
Yes, that was me. Got to hang out with Raj, who, I'll be making fun of later, but that was the only positive.
Yeah. I mean, it's always cool to go to the opener, though. Even if you lose, it's always cool to go to the opener. Less fun, obviously, but
I can take losing, but I can't take. I mean, you know how you're a sports fan. Your team's gonna lose. That's unavoidable. But you can't take losing with bad effort. I can't care more about the game than you do. That's what bothers me.
Yeah. So what was the deal on defense? Because honestly, your guys were out of position a lot.
Out of position a lot, which is sad because they said, they didn't do anything we didn't expect. I don't get it because communication to me on the road is the easiest because it's pitch silent when you're out there. So I don't get how you're not getting signals in or getting guys moved or whatever. So that doesn't make sense. And then the effort just wasn't there. We've got guys who've looked at the all 22 and they're like, there's two guys that did their job. And, we had the highest rated safety duo by PFF. And one of those is my favorite player, Keon Tapp. And they had absolute worst game that I've ever seen. So, Raj, what is up? See? The 8:04 start time. That's why I love Raj. Raj, hanging out with you, Raj, was the best part of this weekend, man. I really appreciate you. Love you, bro. So that part was awesome. So
yeah, no, it was a weird watch. I'm not gonna lie. It was I was expecting a good game, honestly, right? Because I thought Florida State was kind of underrated, but I didn't see you guys just not coming ready to play. I didn't have that on my bingo card. Because you watch that first drive, you guys get down the field. There were, we were texting, right? And I was just like, well, there was a couple of plays in there that, y'all got lucky on. Florida State had a guy out of position. You were able to scramble for that first. And then one of those throws could have easily been a pick, right? So you're just like, okay, you got kind of lucky on a couple of those, but it ends up in the end zone. It's first drive of the season. It's like, hey, you know what? That's a win. And then that's kind of where the good stopped. It was like, what happened? Because Florida State's next drive was a bomb, and then a play later is in the end zone, and you're just like, oh, okay.
A 3rd and 11 bomb, too, though. And a freshman corner that we're really excited about got burnt. Listening to a guy, again, I didn't have access to the all 22. Listening to a guy last night who had to watch the all 22 and said it wasn't his fault. The signal was to where he thinks he has over the top coverage. Safety came over, which top rated safety duo based on PFF, right? And even if you don't believe that, we really strongly believe in both our safeties, right? So if you're not helping out the freshman corner, which by the way, none of this is hindsight. I said they've been talking about him all year, Dijon Lee. Should he push in the starting lineup? I said there's absolutely no way he should be starting against Florida State, right? Yeah. And even if he wasn't there on the very first play, it's critical point, 3rd and 11. Why was he on the field matched up against a transfer wide receiver they just brought in from Tennessee, which means, all right, this guy kind of knows what he's doing. And that's the other thing you said about Florida State being maybe a little underrated. They did what most teams did. They hit the transfer portal hard in summer. So a 2-10 team is not a 2-10 team anymore. And if you try to look at teams' records from last year, you're just going to be mistaken, especially the farther down you are. And that's kind of the thing. If you have a top record, let's take a Georgia every year. Their transfer class is in, 5 to 10 people, maybe, even if 20 go out, because they had a great recruiting class. Yes. And they had, just they only needed a couple from the portal. But the lower down you go, those teams are grabbing everybody they can because they're not keeping that roster together. So that's what Florida State did. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you can't continue to judge a team based on what they did last year. It is easier than ever nowadays in college football. Like LSU remade their defense in the offseason. So
exactly. Well, and that's where the comparison for me is college football is Major League Baseball, right? And whoever's going to spend money is going to do well.
Right.
And so these guys jumping in the portal that want bigger NIL deals, if you're willing to back the Brinks truck up, your team's going to get better. Like you can go buy a contender, which is why it reminds me of the baseball landscape. It's just like, I'm going to be the Dodgers and spend $1 billion. And crazy, we won a World Series. It's like, well, I mean, yeah. And I mean, football is not going to be any different. The teams that can spend the most are going to have the most players.
Yeah. And that's it. Ohio State went for it. People kind of, you guys spent $20 million in the roster. I'm like, doesn't even sound like that much in today's game. Sorry, but true. And for everyone that was bagging on them last year, I said, are you kidding me right now? If Alabama spent $20 million and we won a national championship, we would all be excited. So let's stop pretending like that's a dig at somebody who wins a championship.
Yeah,
right?
It's a dig if you didn't do it, right?
Yes.
That's where you're just mad that you didn't. You're like, you shouldn't be able to spend. It's like, well, just because you didn't doesn't mean you couldn't. It doesn't mean you won't, right? Like next year you might be like, oh, you know what? Our approach didn't work. We're going to spend $40 million.
Thank you.
Oh, here we are. Like, I mean, it's funny, and I blame the NCAA on completely for this because they said no to this for years, didn't come up with any kind of framework, and then was just like, go, and you're like, why is it chaos? Oh, I don't know, because you didn't have a plan.
Yes, at all. And now you're trying to backtrack and dig on stuff. What's up, Big Mike? Good to see you, bro. Thank you. You're trying to backtrack and change stuff. Like, none of this is going to work. Like, just stop. You're not even really running the sport anymore. It feels like it's a Big Ten SEC thing, and everybody's just kind of like along for the ride. But yeah, you can't put the genie back in. There should have been some sort of restriction. Guys should not be able to sign huge NIL deals and then change teams every year. Like, you're watching some of these teams and a guy's on this fourth team, and I'm like, come on. But even like Cam Ward, I think, went through at least 3, maybe 4 teams. So it's like guys are just doing whatever.
I wouldn't really use the genie back in the bottle analogy. It is far more it's so much harder to watch. This is more like trying to put a really complicated tent back in its original bag. Right? Like, it's never going to happen because, I mean, and they're going to spend half the time just fumbling with the tent. You haven't even worried about the bag yet.
Yes, that is actually accurate. This is, it is awful. They need to have some kind of rules, but I mean, we've all been saying it, right? Some of these kids need to know, if I sign up for this team, I can't just leave the second it gets bad. I can't decide 4 games into the year, I'm just going to sit for the rest of the year and somebody will pick me up at the end. I don't get that as being a choice, and you're seeing it multiple times.
And why do we have multiple openings for the portal, right? Like, just have different portal times for different sports. So for football, let's make it after the playoffs, so you don't have these weird playoff portal entries, and let's make it before the spring game, so that maybe that game can still exist. Because the spring game, nobody wants to play in it.
Right.
Like, coaching wise, because you're like, okay, I'm either going to like highlight that I have talent and another school's going to come and get them, or I'm just running out there and the guys that I'm running out there may not even be on my team.
Right.
If we just have the one opening after the playoffs, after the national championship, let's be specific, I guess. Yes. And then before the spring game.
Yes.
Perfect. Right? Who's on your team for the playoffs. Who's on your team from the spring game on. Like, that would be perfect. I don't know why it has to be a train wreck other than it's the NCAA doing NCAA things.
Yeah. And I would love it. A guy commits to your team and he's on for the whole spring versus kind of like what happened in Tennessee. The guy goes through the whole spring and then tries to use leverage to get you a look. It's a little late to get anybody. What you going to do if I'm not here? I absolutely agree with that. And yeah, the transfer portal right now in the fall has got to be the dumbest thing. The second the season ends, you've got 1,000 people in the portal. So I'm thinking, were you guys invested in anything that just happened? And in my mind, I'm thinking, a guy that jumped in December, why do I want him? Because he checked out on his team while the game was still playing. But am I thinking if I just throw enough money at him, he's going to care about me? Because that's not the case.
Yeah, that's not a real thing.
So, no, if you throw more money at me, I'm going to care long enough for the interview, or the orientation process. But they can get taught, that can just get tossed out at any point. So I don't get that. And yeah, guys dropping out before playoff games and before bowl. Like I don't like any of it. I don't like any of it. So
no, well, especially because the NIL is paid out as a lump sum. You're winning the lottery, right?
Right.
How about you make it so that it's pay for play, right? Maybe you don't have to be a starter, right? Maybe that's not a requirement, but you have to suit up, like you have to go play.
Right.
And then maybe there's some bonus structure in it if you make it to the playoffs, and make it so if you're going to treat it like a business anyway, give them the incentives that NFL football
businesses do. Yeah.
Want to be in those moments as opposed to, well, I got my money, I'm just going to sit out. And I don't know. I don't like how it's structured. Again, I blame the NCAA because they're just terrible at everything.
Basically.
So
they're good at being bad. If you need a bad example, here's the NCAA for you.
Yeah, it's almost like they look at every scenario and they're like, okay, I can see the obvious path forward, but I wonder what the chaos decision is. Like,
I know. I swear they're just looking at decisions and rolling dice, but like 4 of the decisions are bad, and they're like, oh, another bad decision. So I was like, should we change the dice? No, it'll get better. I promise. It'll get better.
The worst part is like the right decisions were so easy to find. It would be like you're throwing at a dartboard and the bad decision's the bullseye, and somehow you hit that every single time, and every other number is the right decision.
Yes. They're like right-handed, left-handed,
behind
backwards,
the back.
like,
Exactly.
wow. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Obviously I have a little distaste for the NCAA, and but it's not like it's not warranted. Like when you go through all the things they've done, you look at it and you're just like, how are you guys this consistently bad? And then you can't even get the college football playoff program to work with you. So like you end up with Michigan last year, who they get caught cheating, whatever. College football is like, the playoff was like, yeah, that sounds like an NCAA problem. Like they're fine once they get here. And it's just like, you guys can't even work together in your own platform. Like I don't understand.
No.
But
the best thing about that run, by the way, was your coach got suspended for half the games that year.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, there's probably nothing wrong. I'm like, there's a suspension for half the games and nothing's wrong. Okay.
For 2 different offenses. Like
yes.
It's not even like it was all the same offense. Yeah, I don't know. Again, NCAA, I don't know what you're doing. But the one thing we do know is it's probably never the right decision. So hey, good for you guys for being consistent.
We appreciate consistency.
Speaking of bad, we got Arch Manning looking awesome in his debut. I think people are kind of overreacting, though. Now,
it was a great defense he played against.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I look at it this way. You're talking about his first real start, excuse me, his first real start against top-level competition, because I know Ewers got hurt. He got a couple of starts, but it wasn't exactly against monsters.
No, it wasn't the best. Year, right? Yeah, not at all.
So you have Arch in his first real start as the starter against an Ohio State team that has, 3-4 NFL dudes on that defense for next year, and probably another 3 or 4 dudes for the NFL the year after. You're playing a top-level school, 3rd ranked overall at the time, and so he didn't look great. He looked rattled early, but it's also not like they got blown out. It was a 14-7 game. Like, this is not like they got crushed 50-something to nothing. And like, he went out, he had 50% throwing, like 170 yards or something, a touchdown and an interception. Like, it's not great numbers, but it's also not the numbers that everybody's making it sound like. They sound like he threw for like 20% and like 4 picks, no touchdowns. Like that's not how it went down. I mean, it was a defensive game on both sides, 14-7. He had a chance late. I mean, do I think he was overrated? Yeah, I've said it a bunch of times that I think people need to calm down and let him take a couple, play a couple games before we're like, oh, he's a Heisman winner.
Right.
Absolutely. At the same time, he's going to be fine.
Yeah. That's what I don't get. And he's already committed to playing 2 years, by the way. They've already said, him and his family reps, like, I'm not leaving college. So it gets better. And I think we said this on multiple shows. I don't have any hate for Arch because he's a likable guy. At SC Media Days, he wasn't buying into all this hype. He was just being himself. He didn't ask for any of this. He's not out there talking trash about stuff. He's like, it's stuff that he can't control is why he's getting hyped up. But no, I absolutely don't, Look, like I said, I was at Florida State and I saw that kind of environment. And I realized, like, that is the worst environment to have your first start, which, by the way, as a side, I feel like some of those are going to start to go away unless they're neutral sites. I can't see a big program wanting to travel on the road to start their first game because it's hard to look good in a game like that. Like you said, against a championship caliber defense, that margin of victory was 7 points. I mean, let's say let's take away because of the touchdown was late. Let's say it's a 14-0 game, right? So what you lost the last game by due to, with viewers out there anyway. Ohio State just has a good defense. So, no, I don't know. I can't fault him for anything to happen there. You have to see the rest of the season. Like, if he does that the whole rest of the season, which I doubt, then, you're like, all right, this didn't turn out the way you want. But come on, the first game against Ohio State? Nah.
Yeah. No, like I think he'll be fine. The other one people are overreacting about is Belichick, his team getting smoked in game 1. I don't know why people are surprised about this. So people are like, oh, is he washed and is he bad coach now? And it's like, well, first off, I don't think his style was going to work particularly well for college anyway, right? Like, he's very rigid. And I mean, when you look at the college levels, like those types of coaches aren't really doing well, right? It's why a lot of them had moved on. Saban, for example, right? Between the portal and not only do the kids not want coaching, but what Kirby Smart came out a week and a half ago and said they get offended if you try and coach them, right? Yeah. And it's not like he's with a small program.
Yeah.
Georgia's pretty big. So, it's just I didn't think it was going to go particularly well anyway, but then you add the fact that it's a basketball school.
Yeah.
Like, what are we even talking about right now? When's the last time you've heard of that school doing anything in football meaningful?
Right.
They've had random years where you're like, oh, they're kind of good this year.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're having a Drake May come out of it. But yeah, other than that, it's like, no. And he's trying to remake the roster. It's like you said, you heard too much negative noise, because isn't that one of your rules? If you're talking about him in the offseason, that's bad. That dominated. And I don't know what they thought week 1. And I honestly, I think because especially with the line being like 3.5, I think they probably underrated what TCU could do to him. But you also know in college, if a game goes sideways, everyone gets down. And all of a sudden that, couple touchdown lead becomes, really, really terrible. North Carolina quarterback didn't look great at times. I don't know what choices they think he had. I mean, could he succeed? Maybe. But I was one of the ones when they first signed, like, I wouldn't have. I feel like bringing Belichick was more like bringing in a name versus somebody who's going to succeed at the college level. So,
yeah, well, I mean, there's so much more that goes into a college program than your coach, right? Because of how much recruiting has to happen. And of course, the NIL deal that they're never going to be able to compete with because that's just not what they do. They spend their money on basketball. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And then, and this was part of the noise, right? Was the girlfriend action. I mean, obviously there's so much not related to football that was also the chaos around this team.
Right.
But going into it, if you just look at it purely from a football standpoint, just throwing a top-level coach in there wasn't going to do anything, because when you look at especially the college level, players matter, right? When you get to the NFL, they obviously still do, but everybody is really good in the NFL. Not everybody's really good in college. No. There's a lot of guys on college rosters that, I mean, they're not the best, especially when you're talking about schools that football isn't what they do.
Right. 90 to 95% of North Carolina's roster is not making NFL. Is that number maybe low? I mean,
that number is low. I would say a solid like 98%.
See?
Like there's probably 2 dudes.
Right. So yeah, and guess what? If there's 2 and one of those guys is not leaving for the NFL next year, he's probably leaving your team. Like North Carolina is not a spot where, and that's something else that's changed. It used to be you get a guy, you cultivate him, you're going to have 3 years of him. Now, if you're a lesser school, you get a guy, you cultivate him, you might as well shake his hand and say, wish you luck at wherever you end up before you get to the NFL, because his junior year will not be with you. For sure. And North Carolina is not a school. If you hear that a Hall of Fame coach is at North Carolina and they're trying to recruit you, you hope it's basketball, because if it's football, that's not what's going to make you go there. You're going to go, well, they're offering what? To be coached by Bill Belichick? But I don't know. Georgia and Alabama also offer the same. I think I'm going to head or almost any SEC school you're going to choose over North Carolina. I mean, at least hey, even if we're the worst SEC school, we're probably getting at least a couple of those 230 slots, and you're going to see me on tape against better competition. You know, nobody's tuning in to see North Carolina Duke in football and watching that. You know, like that's I bet you don't even know what day that game is. Right? You know when the basketball game comes in. I don't care what. You could be just a strictly Major League Baseball only. You know when the North Carolina Duke basketball game is coming on. They will not let you forget it. But the football game?
Yeah, you're halfway through the season, and they're like, oh, yeah, did you know we had a football team? Like,
so, I thought it was interesting when he went there, and then it has, I don't have high expectations for it. So like you said, I'm not surprised either.
Yeah, I did see a clip of that. I didn't watch it live, but I did see a clip of it where that's how you know the game is really good, when they pan over to the dog at the control table.
Yeah. Which, by the way, side note, I feel bad for announcers at the end of those games where you have to like make up the other stuff to talk about because there's nothing going on in the field for the whole last quarter.
Yeah, so, that's where those producers come in really handy, because then they're just feeding you like weird facts. Right? They're like, oh, say this. And you're like, oh, yeah, that'll fill a few minutes. Like,
sad but true.
Yep. So let's see. We got a little bit of NFL action. One of them's kind of funny. Shiloh Sanders, right? Obviously, he was let go. And but in the game that really kind of got him out the door, he was getting bullied, swings on the guy, right? Makes contact with his helmet. Probably the deciding factor to move on, since coverage wasn't great and whatever, right? So his earnings in the NFL was $1,572 for his preseason action. The fine for throwing a punch on the field was $46.69. So he actually lost money playing in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from there, but
right.
But yeah, just kind of a funny turn of events. But I mean, and they don't fine for a lot of stuff in preseason, but they do fine.
Right. Right. What do they do if the guy legit? Like, I understand with this day and age and who his dad is and NIL. Yeah, of course he has it. What if they legit didn't have it? Do they wait until you get onto a roster and then get the money from you then? Or do you just owe the NFL? Like, what if he left?
They send you a bill. The thing that's funny,
I would be so bad.
Talking to some former coaches, they're like, oh, yeah, they actually they FedEx you the bill. Like, they actually... How funny is that? Like,
oh my
like
God.
if you're a player and you get a little envelope FedEx to you from the league, you're like, I got fined.
That's just the story gets wilder and wilder. It's like a guy getting thrown out of his apartment and the landlord coming and taking his, let me get your wallet too.
Right?
Out there. Hold on, let me go ahead and take this. Oh, you get cut and fined in the same. I mean, just cut him and let's move on. That's bad enough for him. This is wild. I guess the Sanders never disappoint.
That's two different organizations, though, because you're talking about a team that's cutting him. You're talking about the league fining him. So, I mean, that's a different entity there. But, and who knows? Maybe the team stepped up and like, hey, you know what? We'll pay this for you. Just
we've already kicked you off. We got you, man. Whatever his dad's like, I ain't paying that.
I mean,
good luck to you.
Shiloh did fine money wise though.
Yeah. Oh, he did. He did.
In college, his NIL stuff, like he can write a check.
Shiloh had to file bankruptcy though because of some stuff that he owed. Yeah, in college. So I don't know how that. I
didn't know that.
I have to go find out what the end of that case was, but I know he had some big case where he had to do bankruptcy in the middle of college.
Wow. Okay. Well, now I'm curious. Now I have to look that up. Was not aware. That's kind of wild. And then, because the Browns saga never ends, I did see this, and this makes all the sense in the world to me. So when you look at, the preseason games for Shedeur and for Dylan Gabriel, right? You knew Flacco was going to get the start. They want the veteran out there, of course. So now you're looking at those two guys, and it's not that either of them were particularly great, right? But what you did watch from Gabriel that you didn't see from Shedeur was when things started to break down, Dylan would climb the pocket like you're supposed to, right? Use your protection. Whereas when you looked at the third game from Shedeur, he kept bailing back, which made it so that your tackles couldn't stay engaged with the ends. And so the ends could release, and that's how he ended up with 5 sacks and like 11 plays or something. It was a wild thing.
Right.
But those were scenarios when you watch the tape. If he had climbed the pocket, there were quite a few of those plays that he got sacked on. He would have been fine. Right? Because you're using the protection the way it's supposed to be used. But if you bail out the backside, you're making the D end have an easier path to you because they can disengage from the tackles. So, I wasn't surprised that he ended up being QB3. That's just
not at all
thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
not at all. Which, by the way, some of these sacks, I wish, and I know when they do next gen stats, the sacks are said, but this is why you can't just read box scores and go, the line gave up 5 sacks. I've told you before, I used to get frustrated with Milrow with that sometimes. I'm like, yeah, they gave up 5 sacks, but 3 of them was when he went this way and his guy was fully engaged. And now, like, I can't block the guy going that way unless I trip him. It's like, I cannot help you.
If I'm still blocking him, it's because I'm holding. Like, that is what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
That being said, that does get us to the halfway point. If you are listening in on ICU Radio 97.3, we have some smooth jazz coming your way. Otherwise, stay tuned for the second half of the show. And if you are listening on the radio, of course, that is on YouTube at Football-Talk. All right. Let's see. So Micah Parsons gets traded, right? Obviously, that happened this week too. And I don't know why people are so mad at it. And the only reason I say that is you get a couple of ones, right? And you get a interior tackle, which, cool. Like, they couldn't stop the run anyway, so that makes sense. Do I think they could have got more if they would have done it before the draft? No question, right? But they were so bad at protecting the relationship that even if they ultimately signed him, I think it would have just been toxic anyway. Like, I don't think there was any salvaging that. It was such a fractured relationship. I can't imagine a scenario where he stayed.
Yeah. I think it's the optics of the whole situation and the timing and the way everything was handled, because, you and I talked about it. You were one of the first people to say that. And like I told you, I listened to Nick Wright. At the point where they were, it does not make sense to sign Micah Parsons to the contract he got from the Packers, because you're not going to win a Super Bowl signing him to that money and then probably losing more of your team later and blah, blah, blah. Right. So I get that part, but we didn't have to get to this. We didn't have to get to the trade on the path that they took to get to the trade. First off, if you had the trio that you had with CeeDee Lamb, Dak, and Micah, had you signed them when you had a chance to sign them, you would have saved, I read what Barnwell said, $100 million between the three of them. Then you have enough to keep those three and fill out a good roster. And now you have a Super Bowl contender versus getting to this point, overpaying Dak, overpaying CD. And now it's like, oh, crap, we can't overpay Micah. And now you see why the fans are not just reacting to the Micah situation. They're reacting to everything that's gone on to get us to the Micah situation. Yeah. And like, what are we doing? And then doing it right before, the season starts and you're about to face off about the Super Bowl champ. Like, none of this makes sense the way they got to this path. So, and it's Jerry Jones. The fans are already fed up with him. So no matter what he does right now, he had a terrible hand. He tried to play. Then he folded at the correct time. And now we're like, what are you doing? Well, this is the only good decision he made in this whole thing, but it looks terrible because of all the decisions you made before it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, he was full on riding his bike, shoved a stick in the front spokes, and then was curious why he wrecked. You're just like, you're like, what?
I'm on the stick.
You think wasn't gonna be a problem? Yeah,
right.
And I get that he is all about keeping the Cowboys in the news, and when it comes to what do you call it? He wanted them to be a soap opera, and hey, you know what? They are. So mission accomplished on that front. But you also say that you want a ring. You want one more trophy, at least. You didn't find yourself closer to that. So, no. And it's not like trading to Green Bay. Like it's a one, but it's going to be a late one. Plus, you traded to the team that knocked you out of the playoffs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what
none of it. Yeah. Yep. And what's sad? The one part of it that makes him look a little smart about it too is the fact that Parsons is a little hurt, and they're having to give him injections just to play. So Jerry Jones is over there going, "Ooh, I'm glad it hurt." See what I mean, guys? Like, no, we're not. We're still trying not to give you credit because you've mismanaged so much. Like, I just wouldn't have, if I was thinking about doing a soft rebuild, I would not want Dak on the hook for that because he's proven, I'm not getting to the next level with Dak, So if I was going to pay two of them, it would have been Micah and CD. And I know what you're saying, oh, you can't just grab another quarterback. I don't know. And I don't have the solution for you. So I admit that's terrible, but the way he went about it is not the people that I would have picked for what's going on. But, Yeah.
Well,
I guess Jerry Jones knows more than I do.
That's where it's tough, right? Because you look at it and you're just like, okay, you're really not a contender. You're probably battling for that third spot with the Giants, right? Washington is clearly better. Eagles, obviously, clearly better. So then it's like, okay, well, do you try and move on from Dak? Like, that's going to be a contract that's tough to move. But do you try and move on from him? Do you try and move on from CD, like actually blow this thing up? But then there's no real plan behind it, right? Like, it's not like there's a great quarterback option to go get that's cheaper.
Right.
This quarterback draft will be decent, but you're not going to be bad enough to get one of the top guys, right? Because teams like the Titans and the Saints exist. Now, I don't think the Titans are going to get another quarterback, but, you never know, right?
Right.
So
we've thrown all logic out the window with NFL drafts these days.
Exactly. So, I mean, when you're drafting multiple, quarterbacks and stuff, like who knows what anybody's going to do anymore. I I don't know. I don't see a great path forward for this Cowboys team because they're just good enough that maybe you're not trying to blow it up.
Right.
But you're also not good enough to get out of your own division.
Right.
Right? Like the whole rest of the NFC has to be terrible for you to sneak in because you have two teams in front of you that are clearly better.
Right.
And then you have a Giants team that's,
getting better.
Yeah, they're getting better, right? Like that defense is going to be good. The offense is, who knows? But the defense should be good. And so when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, I mean, you're going to battle for that third spot. A third spot in that division probably doesn't make the playoffs.
Right. Right. Especially like you said, given that we're not going to go through all the divisions, but we did that in our preview. And you can see, except for the South, at least two other decent teams in every single one that's just pushing you further and further down. And if you're battling against the Giants, because you really have, what happens if Dak is slowed down? You finally moved on for Cooper Rush. Do you feel like Joe Milton's going to be the guy to, at least Cooper Rush, in a 6-game stretch could get you 3 to 4 games. Now you've got way too much. I'm looking at the guaranteed money for Dak at $60 million a year annual basis. Like, are you paying that to squeak into the playoffs every year? That's another reason why I said, and like I said, not hindsight at the time, I don't know that that's the path going forward because he's not proven to be your playoff guy. But I do feel like it's Jerry Jones wanting to be in the spotlight. It's spotlight first, and here's NFL championship down here. You're thinking, I mean, you're doing that part correctly. This franchise will always be valuable and you'll always be in the news, but you're not winning as currently constructed, And I feel like the Schottenheimer hire was part of that too. I just want a guy I can control who's not going to buck and, say anything to the media. So I got that guy.
Well, and when you're thinking of the Cowboys, right, you have 3 wild card spots. They're obviously not winning their division, right? There's 2 of the other teams are just far and away better.
Right.
But
now, Raj did say they were going to win the division.
He did, but he's crazy. So, especially when you think of the NFC, right? So it's like, okay, you figure, say the Cowboys were even serviceable. Say they're a 9-win team. I don't think they will be, but say they are, right? Is that going to beat the second best team in the North? Probably not.
Right.
Will it beat the second best team in the West? Probably not. Right? Because the Rams probably win the West. It's going to be the Seahawks or the Niners in that second spot. And I'm figuring probably the Seahawks. But even in that second spot, you're probably a 10-win team. Right? When you're looking at the North, whoever wins that division probably wins with 12. The next team probably has 10.
Right. And you still don't really know what you've got Minnesota-wise in this one. But if JJ comes on, they could be just as tough, but not as tough as last year, but still a tough division. So, 2 to 3.
And then you look at Dallas, and you're just like, okay, they have a tough schedule just because that division has a tougher schedule this year. So, like it just, I don't think a 9-win team gets in a wild card spot. Like I don't see that being a thing with how good the NFC just is. Now, the only way I can see that working out is if the West and the North cannibalize each other, right? Where they just really beat each other up. Everybody splits with everybody. Then maybe, right? But when you're looking at the West, we play the South. Probably going to win some of those, right?
Yeah, some. not the worst division to have to go up against. So I noticed you didn't include them in your little talking about the team. One team from the South gets in, and that's it. Like we're closing the doors.
Yeah. We're like,
I remember that preview. You guys have anything to say about the South? Y'all went, nah.
No, the South is like, having a playing card in the spokes of your of your bike. You're like, oh yeah, it sounds cool, but I don't understand why my card isn't worth anything, and it's all just like bent up and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, you still technically have a card, but like it is worth $0.
Yes, yes. Oh man. You know, the other problem with Dallas is you have to have too much go right. You know, you've got to have Dak healthy, right? You've got to have CD healthy. You've got to have George Pickens not crazy. And then you've got to figure it out on defense with a week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare without your best defensive player. And just hope. And then what does it feel like? Sometimes Diggs isn't 100% and they're still trying to figure things out on that end. And like I said, you lose part. Like it's too many. This is what has to happen. All right. We need Dak at the MVP level, right? CD's got to be, you know, it's got to kind of, but we saw what happened with the Bengals last year. If you've got an MVP quarterback and the best wide receiver, the Triple Crown winner, and you still don't even make the playoffs because your defense is horrendous. I'm not saying their defense would be horrendous, but this is a last minute change to make, you know, so. The Bengals didn't like kick Hendrickson off the team right before the season started. So, and they were still horrendous.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, the Bengals are such a weird thing, right? Because they don't get better on defense. Do you really think that Burrow is going to be back-to-back MVP style seasons and back-to-back Triple Crown receivers? No, of course not, right? So when people are like, oh yeah, they're going to be amazing, they're making the playoffs, I'm like, what part of this team makes you think they somehow got better? They paid guys,
right?
But you're trying to tell me that Burrow's going to have a career year back to back? I mean, that doesn't generally happen. It can happen, but not normally. How many Triple Crown winners you see? Well, and how many Triple Crown winners you see go back to back? Not one that I can think of. So I mean,
I can't remember what Cooper Kupp has done since he won it. Like it seems like he's been banged up. Yeah, but I'm saying it just seems like it went downhill injury-wise. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot either way. Plus, you know me, I always vote against people repeating anything. That's just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you don't have a whole lot of back-to-back Super Bowl winners. There's just a lot of things that have to go right. So when you are having a career year borderline MVP, and then you have a receiver who also career year Triple Crown, just the odds of you doing that back to back is so low. And then you invested nothing in the defense. So unless you guys have that exact same year, what's the plan there? So I don't know. I mean, like, do I think he's going to have a good year as long as he doesn't get hurt? Yeah, of course. Do I think he's going to be what he was last year? No. Could he be? Sure. But I mean, the odds aren't in your favor there.
The odds are not in your favor, Rod. Sorry.
I mean, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't make career years don't generally happen back to back. Like, it just not usually how it works. I mean, even when you are, top level talent, you think of Peyton Manning, right? His best years weren't next to each other.
Right. He
had a phenomenal year with the Broncos, and then his next best year was like 6 years prior in Indy. Yeah. I mean, was he good the rest of the time? Of course, it was Peyton Manning, but they weren't back-to-back career style years. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I think last year was probably more taxing than we realized too, because they knew every game they had to hit the 30 to 40 mark to have a chance, and it didn't work. So what are you thinking for the next year? Yep. Like, do I got to push us to 50? Now am I making one or two more mistakes than I made last year because I can't afford to punt on this drive? I can't, so it's too tough when you absolutely know, because there's zero things that they did to make the defense better in the offseason. So now you're just like, all right, last year we had to score on this drive. Now this year we can't even afford field goals on drives. I think it's just too much to do. Yeah.
I mean, they got a little better. They drafted a guy.
Hey, guy.
Singular person, but
a guy they fought with half of camp. So yeah.
Man,
at least we tried. That's the shirt.
What's that?
I said, at least you tried. That's going to be the shirt I give them.
No. It's funny because their motto actually makes a lot of sense. When you look at their defense, you're like, who dey? Like,
Yes. Guys, my name's Herb. How you doing? Yeah, I'm playing left side. You know you're on the right. Oh, crap. Hold on. Let me go get back.
You know what? Not even going to matter. Just line up where
Don't
you
even
want.
worry about it. Yeah. They're going to watch Alabama Crimson Tide game film, and that's how they're going to play defense. So,
you talking about
great things
this
ahead
week?
from this week? Yeah, great things ahead.
Man, yeah, that bomb got me because you literally had 3 guys in frame chasing him.
Yeah,
and you're just like, I know 2 of you had the deep. I know it based on your alignment. Watching, I'm just like, oh, you all got burned.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't fault the corner. Obviously, he was trailing, but you could tell he was supposed to have that safety help. Again, your safety, that's the blanket, right? Like you're paying over the top, but you can't let anyone behind you.
Rated safety is supposed to be over the top. That's what just kills me. And you got to help the freshmen. Come on, guys.
So, man, that's a tough one. And the only reason I say that is it's not like he can't be good. He just can't stay healthy. So, like, if he can stay on the field, I think he has a good year.
Yeah.
I just don't trust that he will. He's had one healthy season his whole career, including college. So, I mean, do I think if he stays healthy, he can be great? Sure. I mean, he has an amazing, trio of receivers. But your best ability is availability, right? So, I mean, can he stay available all year? Man, that I don't know. I mean, but you're like, that's the problem is.
That's what we're going to put on back of Tua's jersey.
That would actually be hilarious.
I'll also throw out 2 other things, Raj. Is Tyreek dialed in, and can Waddle stay healthy? Those are 2 other big factors for the Tua thing. So
you don't think Tyreek is dialed in when he's like, I want to be gone. Just kidding. I love it here. You don't think he's okay.
Yeah. Oh, and then he didn't get picked as a captain for the first time since he's been there. I'm sure that went over well with him too. So yeah.
Can you pick him as a captain?
No. You're basically telling the rest of the organization, do whatever you want. We're cool with it if you make him captain. So yeah, it's just a lot going on there in a spot where you're getting to a point where like New England is trying to come up. I mean, the Jets are still the Jets, but the Bills have a stranglehold on it. But how much longer do you have Tua before you're like, all right, this is not going to work? And so every year is really, really valuable for him. And the rest of his organization, you have no idea what's going on sometimes.
Well, the real question there is not only, how long do you have Tua, right? Because, I mean, you figure he plays out his contract, right? So he's got a few years because he signed last year, right? The real question becomes, how long do you have a coach?
Yeah.
Because I have to think that McDaniel is on the hot seat this year. Like it may not be scalding hot to start the year, but if they start slow, I would bet money it heats up quick.
You have to at some point, right? You come in and you're supposed to be great on offense. Your offense is letting you down, and the defense has never been there. What am I getting out of you that makes me think the next guy won't do the same anyway? So
yeah, well, I mean, and the defense I can't really fault them so much on just because they're not bringing dudes in. I mean, they're not Bengals bad, but
I was going to say, do you think the Bengals DC and the Dolphins DC have lunch together?
I think it's actually the same guy, just like the Scooby-Doo mask, right?
He's just doing both teams, like might as well. So
yeah, no, it's it's not like their defense is the worst in the league, but it's not great. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is a year that that if they don't perform, if they're not at least in the conversation for a playoff spot, even if it's just a wild card spot, if they're not in that conversation, I think there's a chance he gets fired because, I mean, at this point, you've spent a ton of money on that offense. You've had moments where at least the defense was serviceable, right? And now you've progressively made the defense worse over the last few years. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like he is definitely one of the coaches this year that potentially get fired. I think Dable's one of those as well. If the New York project doesn't go how the ownership wants it to, I think this could be it.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I wouldn't. Well, I'll put it this way: I wouldn't draft Tua on a fantasy team unless you have one of those where you have extra bench spots where you get to carry a second quarterback. Then maybe, but yeah, I wouldn't trust him week in and week out.
Yeah, we did a draft. It was a smaller one, but Tua was actually available in the last round, and I didn't even notice because I was never looking for him. And I was like, I honestly don't know what to make of that team and what to do. Now, could he go out and have an MVP type year with a dialed in, Tyreek and Waddle out there healthy? Absolutely. He's got the talent for it, but it definitely seems boom or bust. And he'll be the passing leader through week 4, and then week 5 get hurt. And you're like, what just happened? Or Tyreek will go out and get arrested for, stealing hot dogs from a vendor. You'll just be like, there's no story that I can tell you that you wouldn't, be surprised at. So,
yep. And of course, got to mention Pick'em. Pick'em starts tomorrow. Let's go. If you haven't signed up, be sure to do that. There is money for the top 5 positions. And of course, if you win, your name goes right here. So, let's go.
Ready to roll.
What's that?
I said I'm ready to roll. I've already made my pick, so I haven't forgot my week. I went wild, so if mine looks terrible for week 1, you're like, Herb, what were you thinking? I'll go, I wasn't.
See, the thing that's funny is it's week 1, and so there's always so much chaos in week 1 because you have so many teams that didn't have starters play or ones that did, and you always end up with a lot of upsets week 1. So a lot of times the smart pick doesn't hit week 1. So if you made some wild ones, you may have crushed it, or you may have got nothing, right? Like week 1, if I was actually betting money for week 1, I would just put my wallet back in my pocket.
Yes. I looked at the game that said, I'll watch these. This will be fun, but there's just no way I would have faith in any of this. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're playing any of the survivor pools, there's only 2 games I'd even look at. So many of these matchups are such a tight game, or they're just big time games. It's the Eagles, Cowboys, it's the Ravens, Bills, Seahawks, Niners. I would stay away from all of those games if you're playing Survivor. Survivor, I'd be playing Cardinals, Saints, right? I'd pick the Cardinals there. Broncos, Titans. I'm taking the Broncos, right?
I think Broncos was mine, so I hope you didn't just jinx me.
No, but those are the only 2 games. When you look at the entire slate, those are the only 2 games I'd even look at for week 1. Because the rest of them, you're just I don't know. It looks like a coin flip to me.
Yep. Good luck.
Even KC Chargers, right? That's gonna be a battle, or at least it should be.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
And then before we get out of here, only got a couple of minutes left. WNBA playoffs are right around the corner, and my Storm are trying to miss them. In fact, going into yesterday's or day before's game, they were up by 17 for most of the game, and then they just absolutely fell apart going down the stretch. Last 3 minutes end up just not being able to stop anything. Got outscored in the paint 60-30. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. And you're a couple games out, a game and a half still in the playoffs right now?
No. So that number is misleading. So they have basically the Sparks, who they just lost to,
right,
have played 3 less games than the Storm. So although they're technically ahead of them, they have the same amount of losses. The Storm only have 2 games left, and it's against the New York Liberty, one of the best teams in the league. And the Valkyries, also a playoff caliber team.
Yep.
The Sparks still have 5 games to play. So they play 3 less. Yeah. So basically, as long as they don't lose really another game, because, I mean, basically the Storm have to win both because the Sparks own the tiebreaker.
Oh.
the Sparks winning that game made that series 3-1 for the year.
Okay.
So the Sparks own the tiebreaker. Storm have 2 games left. Sparks still have 5. So all they have to do is match whatever the Storm does, and they're in.
Right.
So unfortunately, by losing that game, they no longer control their own destiny. They basically need everyone to beat up on the Sparks. And they have to win at least one of the next 2 games against playoff caliber teams. So
yeah,
I don't like I don't like the odds of that just because of the way they lost. They just look like they mentally just weren't in that game anymore going down the stretch. They were scoring at will in the paint, just slashing to the basket. Hamby, I mean, it was basically the exact same play, like 6 times in a row. With, you know, a back roll layup, and it was just like, I don't like you guys aren't even getting in the way. So, but that game right there may have actually ended their playoff hopes.
That is wild, considering how they started off and how competitive they were, and what some wins against, was it New York and Minnesota early on in the year, or whatever, at least competitive games.
They beat Minnesota 3 games ago.
Yeah, so it's like
2 games ago. So they were down big in the first half, outscored them 60-something to 30 in the second half to win that game. They go and they beat the Sky, and you're like, okay, here we go. You're kind of getting on a roll here. And then Sparks, up until the 3 minutes to go, they had that game locked in, and then they end up losing by like 5 or something.
Which I was the one, like I told you, I went to sleep. They were comfortably ahead. I wake up because now you got me watching every Storm game or checking them out and stuff. And I'm like, what happened? Like, did me going to sleep cause all this? Because this is wild. So yeah, I can't figure them out. Some changes obviously have to be made for next year, I would think, personnel wise, because you can't keep having the same script every single game.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this season may be coming to an end, but they were fun to cover. They were fun to cover. I'm looking forward to next year. Not to say that they can't win, but man, they got a tough road ahead of them, especially since the Sparks still have 5 games left. So
that's
that
wild.
being said, that gets us to the top of the hour. If you are watching here on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, and we will be going live on Coast to Coast here in about a minute and a half. So got to jump over to that one.
Have fun.
See y'all next week, everybody.